Come on. Yeah, okay, all right. Welcome to the coffee break. This is the episode number 103. Thank you very much for joining. Thanks for all no for attending. Hope you can see my intro image. My PowerPoint is behaving oddly today. And as usual, very open space, any questions or topics or projects that you're working on. And just before we start recording, Chuck was describing something that he's working on. So Chuck, back to you.
Oh, I was just talking about I had been looking for a way of backing up our projects off of ACC.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it's not something I have to write but I found one out on GitHub that actually works very well. I've been testing it the last couple of days, and so I thought maybe I might share that.
Yeah,
So
let's see.
yeah, can
Is
I
that
post
one
that?
of our samples?
No, it's not. It's see if I can find the guy's name. Stewart. I don't know what the last name is. First name Stewart. But so anyway, he's got it posted out there for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Cool.
downloaded it and started playing with it. So um and then I also wanted to let's see here. I can share the link if you'd like.
Yeah, sure, please.
All right. Anybody's interested in this.
That's good to learn what else people are doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Also discovered something about ACC that I don't know if it's fixable. Well, I know it's fixable, but when I was running this code, I noticed that every now and then when people would put in their project names in ACC, they would leave a space at the end of it. And there's nothing in ACC that removes that space. Now I know that's a user thing, right? So I had to email all of our users and say, hey, make sure you don't have a space there at the end of the file, but or in the end of the name. But it'd be kind of nice to see that trimmed out if it's possible, just so it
Okay.
doesn't get left in there when it's written back to you know whatever it is that's storing that information.
Yeah.
So, have you
I
ever
re
worked with a folder that's ever had a space in the end of the name?
I recall that a long time ago we had something like that. That
It's not a
where
difficult hoop to jump through, but
yeah, no,
it
no,
is one. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Same thing
that
with
I
file
think
names. Yeah.
something like that
But
happened with the client ID at some point that on the UI when you copy it has a little space, and then when you paste on the interface, it kept that space and was causing some weird behavior somewhere.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a good thing to look at. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
Well, that's all I have. I
cool.
was going to have to leave a little early today at
Yeah.
10:30, but
That's the
anyway,
repo you shared, right? So the construction cloud backups, that person, Stuart Selani. Yeah, it looks interesting. Yeah, definitely
yeah,
check out. Well, it's well documented, which is good, right? I love when it's well documented. But it's like a desktop tool to backup stuff, which is quite interesting as well.
yeah. I just made a bat file for it, and then I just
Hmm.
run the bat file. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it has a bunch of switches in it. Has a dry run switch, which is kind of neat because you can. It won't download the files, but it'll generate a bunch of empty text files essentially, and along with the folder structure. So you can test it without having to actually go through the process of
Interesting.
actually downloading information. Yeah.
Well designed, right? So
So,
yeah, cool. Thanks for
yeah,
sharing. Yeah,
sure.
definitely explore it more.
All right. Oh,
Wasn't there recently a blog post from you guys about this tool for downloading and uploading files from ACC and Vim 360? Something kind of, I don't remember who wrote this. Maybe one of the guys dealing with ACC more.
So you mean a tool from Autodesk to do upload and
It,
download of files?
I think it's like one of your GitHub samples or something,
Yeah,
but it's
we do have a sample that shows that. Yes. Actually I think the sample you're talking about moves data from from, let's say, Dropbox, OneDrive into ACC and back. But it's a cloud tool, right? So so myself and Adam, we wrote that a few years ago. The idea was to trigger a Lambda server to actually move the file from A to B. So it was quite interesting. This one here that Chuck found, it's like a desktop tool that would just download data to your local machine, like a backup kind of thing. Yeah, it's also interesting. I'm always curious why you need to back up your files. What is the need there? Is like a contract thing, or is peace of mind? So maybe Chuck, why you're doing this?
Most of it's peace of mind, but we have had scenarios where we've lost contact with, the server, the ACC server, and that literally shuts us down for a day. So,
what do you mean lost contact?
yeah, the server just, whatever that connection is, just broke. So we had this happen, I don't know, maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. So
Okay.
it's just something that we just wanted to have to protect ourselves in the event that, connection breaks, and they do break. So if we can find something that can download our files, once a week, then we just
But
protected ourselves.
so let me try to get this right. So you do a backup, let's say on a Friday afternoon, and then next week, if the service is down, you can use that backup copy from last Friday and keep working.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So it's like you are keeping a offline cache every week to keep you running in case of emergency.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Fair. Makes
We
sense.
were looking at it, but then the idea of then integrating these designs back into the synchronized, I'm assuming, maybe the assumption is wrong, but I'm assuming this is like collaborated project. So it's all C4R models, for example, on Revit. The amount of time you would spend on bringing that back and syncing it is, just take the day off. It's cheap. It's going to be cheaper if you lose the connection. That's my kind of gut feeling about it. I know we're also looking at backups and should we and how often, and but what is the actual scenario that we're looking into. And I think this scenario, which we also talked about, is unlikely, and it's unlikely to pay off. When you're talking about integrated project collaboration projects. That's my gut feeling.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, interesting. Anyone else doing that? I'm just curious. What are the scenarios where you use a backup? Anyone else doing this as well?
We use the Vault. There's a connector from Vault. So we, kind of use the Vault connector it's called the Cloud Drive Mapping tool. And Vault is our corporate document management system. So we use it to basically copy files, but more for historical purposes, not for any kind of backup.
So Vault and ACC?
Yes.
So you use Vault to copy data from ACC?
Yeah. Well, it actually works through the desktop connector.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you use desktop connector to download the files and then Vault to sync that to your local document management.
Correct.
Interesting. That's a good approach. Would it make sense to have a Vault API for that?
Good question. I mean, this tool is, it's working okay. There are a few tools, like, for example, we use also Inventor, and we use also AutoCAD Electrical, that aren't really directly supported in ACC. So, it would be nice to have that workflow be a little more fluid. If that could be done through an API, that would help.
All right. And the workflow would be to copy the data from electrical and into Vault or into ACC?
Into ACC, like Inventor, for example. We have people using Inventor, and then, you know, their work. We want their work to be ending up in ACC at the end of the day, but they use Vault. So Vault and Inventor are so tightly integrated that it's, you know, it's actually a good workflow for them to use that.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Cool, thank you.
Sure.
All right, any other questions or topics?
I have a question regarding IFC translation in the model derivatives. I know that the settings are basically just the names. If I understand correctly, the settings that are available are just the names as they are set in Revit. So, do you want to share the documentation, or do you want me to find it?
Yeah, I'm not sure where that would be. If you have it, that would be great.
Let me quickly try and find it, because that was something else. So basically, in here, when we look at jobs, supposed to be transfer job, and then I see somewhere the color, output. I see output. So advanced IFC for it's just, you know, the export setting name. So basically, it's just the way you see in the Revit dialog export IFC. Is that something? And these are settings that are pre-saved. So there's no way we control that. We can control that.
Yeah.
In effect, do you know whether that's something that's likely to change, or because, for example, there are certain settings that are good for us, that match our needs, but they lack like one box that should be ticked, and that means that we can, you know, we cannot use that.
Yeah, I think that as it says that there is no API to get that list, right? So you have to know what you have there before. Yeah, it sounds like a constraint there.
Sorry?
Sounds like a limitation here, right? You have to know what is the option that you wanna export the IFC, and you only have a few options. You have to know the option before calling the post job.
Yes, but the options are basically just a string name. It's not like I can send an object and specify, you know, turn this on or turn this off. It's just preset things. And is this something that you think might be changing in the future, or, you know, could we have a discussion about it?
Yeah.
I mean,
so yes, go. Sorry, can I finalize, please?
No, that you know, that was the question. So, it's almost there, but it's not quite there.
Yeah. So what I know for sure is that we are doing lots of investment on IFC to make it more compatible, more easy to use. What we can do is to log this request and reach out to understand more if you can do it. I don't know any roadmap in this area. I see Kevin is also here. Do you know anything, Kevin?
I haven't heard anything, but what I would suggest is if you could give us your ideal scenario, how you would like to see it working, and we can pass that over to our engineering team. We never know. There could be a way to an easy way forward to make it happen. It's just depending on the underlying, work that would need to be done. I know model derivative team is pretty flexible, and they like to provide wish list requests. So if it's something reasonable, it's entirely possible. Yeah.
Okay. So just sending it to help at ATS.
I would say because it's a wish list, maybe send it directly to Augusto or myself,
Yeah,
and
I'll
we
write
could
down
pass
the
it
email.
over.
Yeah, let me write down for you.
Sure. Okay, I'll try and kind of make a sensible scenario and kind of explain where we want to have, and then we can continue from that. Thank you.
Now a question for you, right? So can you elaborate more on the scenario? Why IFC? Why do you need to generate those files? What is the adjustment that you're trying to make here? That will help us understand as well.
Okay, what we're doing at the moment, we're starting to use IFC for a couple of different use cases. One of them is we're using Bexel Manager. I'm not sure you're familiar with it.
No.
It's a relatively small company software. I think it's somewhere in Serbia or nearby. And what they do is they do model-based scheduling and also quantity takeoffs. And we found that software relatively easy to learn and to adapt to our needs. So it's quantity takeoffs and schedules, time frames for building. And then the other use case is basically creating IFCs for Solibri models, which we also starting to implement. Solibri has a connector to ACC, so it can consume the files on ACC. So we're looking at the model derivative to kind of trigger, to be able to trigger it from our end, a conversion. Not every time a model is published, we want to convert it to IFC, but at certain stages. So we kind of say, okay, this project now, and then we produce the IFCs and then consume them in model checking.
Okay.
And for the model checking, we need certain aspects of the IFC. We don't want the geometry to be too fine, for example. We want it kind of medium. But we need some of the custom data which is Revit data. So this is when you use the desktop. When you use Revit to export it, you can create your own settings and modify an existing setting and save it as your own, and that allows you to kind of have a bit more granular data.
All right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Interesting.
And it sounds like, based on this docs, I'm not that familiar with the IFC export, but it sounds like Revit API doesn't even support some of the things there as well.
I'm not sure. I haven't checked the Revit API. For that because I probably should, because the other option would be to go design automation. Similar price. Similar price. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think my gut feeling is that it should, but maybe I'm wrong here.
Yeah, it might be looking into that. It might be worth looking into that because you know, if you can do it on the desktop, you know, like you say, design automation could be the next best solution, and then you probably have even more control over it if the API supports it. You know, you could be setting those things on the fly as needed.
Sure. When you just to follow up on that, when you use design automation, so the job is actually opening a file and doing whatever the add-in is doing. So it could potentially export several files, right? As one job. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. You can technically have any number of outputs. You know, it's more about how you get those outputs. You know, in a sample I wrote quite a few years ago, I just zipped them, you know, after the job was done and downloaded one zip, right? So there's a few different options there as well. And like you say, you know, that's also kind of a nice way to test. So, you know, if there's, you know, 15 different parameters that you want to tweak and play with, you know, it's automation. So you could crank all those out in a job just for your testing purposes, look at the results, see if that's what you want, and then narrow in on the actual solution that you would run later on.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to look at the API first and then figure out whether design automation could be the thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't have strong experience with design automation, what I would encourage you to do first is, you know, look at the Revit API, and if you can get that working kind of locally, that's when you can, you know, plan to move to design automation and expand it.
Yeah. I'm confident enough in using the Revit API. It's the getting it to work online, which is but first, yeah, baby steps, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you can get the results you want locally, then it makes sense to move to design automation and try it and learn that aspect. And we certainly have samples and experts with Revit design automation that can help you along the way if needed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan, for the discussion. Do you have a few minutes for any other questions or topics? Have any?
I have a question here.
Yes.
Yeah. So wondering, is a way to extract the description of the folder of the files in ACC? I'm not too sure which API can do that.
The description, you mean when you view the files?
Yeah.
On ACC, you see a description column.
Yeah. One of the columns.
I believe you can.
Is it in the manifest?
Yeah, let me open it up here. Give me a second, just get the documentation. I believe there is a way to do it. Yeah, so I think that when you go to ACC, there is a document management and there is a get attributes. So that gets you the attributes you see for those files. Oh, but I think those are just custom attributes, right? Yeah, I think that's as far as you can go there. Because that's real. No, those just the definitions. Maybe not. Yeah, I recall that was a frequent request. Yeah, don't, maybe it's not there. Have you asked it on our channel or on our support? Sorry.
No, I haven't. I just got a task to ask if we
Yeah,
can extract the description.
yeah, maybe it's not there. I recall that was a common request, but I don't remember the solution for it top of my head now.
So do you suggest me to submit a support ticket around
Yes,
this one for the further discussion?
aps.help@autodesk.com.
Okay, gotcha.
So I can reply back to you, aps.help@autodesk.com.
Okay.
So
And yeah,
I'm not very familiar with ACC, but I see there is a description in the asset API.
asset
Is that,
API.
yeah, is that
Oh,
different?
Gustavo, you just shared it. Oh yeah, okay. You're fast and nice. So
Oh, okay,
thanks.
extension data. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so how it is? The script is located in the extension of the data response. Yes. Thank you. Oh, I love having you
Okay.
guys join the call with me. Look, you can do the support for us now.
Huh? How can I get
Okay.
the link for this one?
It's on the chat window.
Oh, okay.
Let me copy and
Cool,
paste
cool.
there again. Yeah.
I see it. I see it. Sorry. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that's why it's good to have a community of people that work with this. Thank you, Gustavo. All right.
No problem.
Let me then, so we are approaching our time, and thank you very much for joining. Let me open this up here, and where is it here? Stop sharing, share again. So as usual, our next coffee break will be in 2 weeks, same time, same link. And thank you very much for joining today, and see you there. Thank you. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
back there.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.